how's it going?
A bit better. How you doing?
Yeah. Not too bad. It's a little bit later here on the East Coast, so,
Oh yeah,
everything's wrapped up for the day and now just chilling to watch the final game.
nice.
So, I know tough loss, but how we feeling on the week? How was practice coming into the day and everything else around the week?
Practice has been decent. I think we've had some solid scrims, some not so solid scrims. I think up and down in the weeks, and I think today was just a really shitty day for us. But I think overall practice is still going as expected, and we're learning a lot. And I think the teams that we know will do well into us, or we expect to do well into us, have been, and then we've been improving slowly off that. And the teams we know we do well into, we have been doing well into and improving on that. So yeah, I think we've just still been ramping up. But today was just a poor day overall.
If you had to power rank where you believe you guys are currently at in the LCS, regardless of standings at the moment, where would you put yourself?
I think FlyQuest and EG are definitely at the top. And then I'd say after that, honestly, there's not a seriously strong team. So I'd say anywhere between third and fifth right now, I think is where we'd land. From my obviously unbiased perspective, but yeah, I'd say like third. I'd say first and second are pretty solidified, and after that, yeah, I think everyone has some catching up to do versus FlyQuest and EG. I think that's for sure.
Prior to the game, I'm not sure if you got to see the segment at all, but they did like a kind of a recap of the TSM versus CLG rivalry. And then Mark Z kind of came in and said the rivalry is dead, more or less. The players have moved on. Do you truly believe the TSM CLG rivalry is dead? And on top of that, is there any rivalry that you have with other teams? Is there any team that like you just hit the rift and it's like, yeah, I just really want to mess them up?
Yeah, I mean, so CLG, there's no rivalry for me. I mean, honestly, I still have some of my closest friends within the scene are on CLG coaching staff. So, for me, it's more fun to play versus them in trash talk than it is anything personal. So, I mean, yeah, I think I personally don't have a rivalry versus CLG. Maybe some other players do, and the org like uppers have like a vendetta against it, or just like they want to win a little bit more. But for me, I'd say like, if anything, I'd say it always feels good to be your former's team. So like a little bit of that with me and Golden Guardians. And then, I mean, I think just depending on how scrims go, you kind of build up this, if like someone has a lot of back and forth with you in scrims, it feels nice to see that pay out on stage. And it feels extra shitty to not see that pay out on stage. So I'd say for that, maybe us and like 100 Thieves, I've had a bit of back and forth. Yeah.
Do you feel like the fans should learn more about like the back and forth of banter and scrims? Not necessarily the results, but like if there are two teams going back and forth, like obviously we don't know about it from the outside and you guys do, but it would add a little bit more value to it. Do you think there's a way that fans could ever learn about that type of stuff?
I do think that showing more of our like day-to-day schedule is important because you really only see like the top, like a little bit like the tip of the iceberg, right? And I do think it is important to have that kind of clarity, I think, especially because some teams perform always better on stage, some teams don't, and usually stage games are a little bit less bloody depending on the team you're playing. So yeah, I do think that showing that and then also showing the banter gives like better content, more meat to the story. Yeah, I do think there's a lot of people who type a lot more when they're in scrims, that's for sure.
Are you willing to say who's the biggest shit talker in scrims?
For our team?
For any team.
I don't know if I want to out anyone for any team, but I'd say for our team, definitely Colin has a part to him, or Solo. That. Yeah.
The mullet gives you a little bit of extra confidence, I guess. Just couldn't give a single crap about it. Obviously, the meta is changing a little bit as time goes on and teams kind of figure it out. I mean, you still have some stable picks. I know you played the Karma today. We're still seeing Lulu around. But engaged supports are starting to come back slightly. Are there any champions that you really want to play that currently aren't in meta?
That I want to play that aren't in meta. I'd say, well, I mean, a champ I want to play that is in meta is Ashe, but it's always banned. And then not in meta, I'd say, I think Blitz is always a fun champ. And Thresh too. I definitely miss Thresh meta. I mean, some people have picked it, but it just, in my opinion, looked horrible in the places that they have picked it. I think That champ is always really fun and really skill expressive for supports. And he's been out of the meta for a while, so I think, yeah, missing Thresh a little bit.
Last question I got for you. Tomorrow's a big matchup against C9. C9 coming off a loss today. You guys now sitting at 500. This will put you back above it. What are your thoughts going into it? I know the fans are heated for this. Like, this is one of the biggest matches of the year, regardless of where the two teams stand.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I think the last time we played C9, we had a solid position in the game, and then just one bad team fight, and it all went poorly after that. And I think today, the second week we had a really bad week. We had one bad game, and it led to our next game. And then our super week, we had a bad game, and we were able to bounce back. So I think today's about showing that we can still do that. You know, we had a bad day, and I think we're gonna be pissed off, but so is C9. They had a bad day too, so.
Gonna let MNS get a win, or send him back to Academy?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely didn't look too happy today, but yeah.
Sweet.
Hopefully send him back.
Final question I got for you, completely unrelated to LCS. LEC finals are this weekend. Who you got?
Probably just G2.
Okay, that's been the common answer so far.
Yeah, it's nothing exciting, but you watch them play, and they have their own meta, and they can also play the normal meta. So I think having that, it's like you have your own identity, and you can also play the meta, and that is really scary for teams to play into.
Do you think, how close is that to like 2019 G2, or is that still a long ways off?
It's close for sure. I mean, yeah, it's about every player having a big champion pool and confidence in those champions, and I do think they have that. Maybe the only issue I see them have is that they really don't like to play the Enchanter's bot. I think, Mickey takes Nautilus every time he can. And yeah, maybe they're not happy trading Enchanters because that doesn't work out for them. But I don't think that hurts them because they just play the other styles too well. And it's pretty easy to find an engaged champ.
Perfect. Don't let me take up any more of your time. I know you got a big game tomorrow, so best of luck with everything.
Awesome. Thank you.
Have a good one, man.
Yeah, you too.